So there's a lot of fans out there saying the better team didn't win the World Series. We'll get into it today.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Yeah, okay, Carter. There's been a lot of chatter. Today is going to have a lot of not outside conversations, but conversations that have been happening online, that have been happening post-World Series here. Number one, did the better team win the World Series? We'll talk about that. We'll tell you where this sort of came from and where this narrative is sort of stemming from. We'll give you our takes. Some fan base stuff, because some just diabolical stuff has been happening post-World Series here that personally I cannot get behind, and we're going to have to shut it down on the internet here. I'm going to also tell you guys about a bunch of off-season important dates to be aware of. As we continue out, we're starting way later in this offseason than we did last year. Last year, we started in the offseason in July. So it's a very different offseason look for the Locked On Blue Jays boys here. Carter, I'm just going to say this now because I don't know if I'm going to be able to hold it in. We're doing Movember. We went from looking like I'm in my mid-20s to now I look like I'm 18 again. So, Carter, I don't know, man. You look young. You look young.
I was going to wait to see how long you waited to address it. But yeah, if you're wondering why there's two children now on your screens, that is why. Again, we'll have more Movember stuff coming up at the end of this segment and third segment as well. Again, we always do this every single year. I guess it's only been 1 year because it's their second year going into the podcast, or second year that we were doing the podcast during November. But we'll continue on with that later on. We'll go into the meat and potatoes of this episode. So right after the World Series, Caleb Joseph, who has been a Toronto Blue Jays broadcaster this entire season, again, you hear him probably say every single time, hey, I used to catch in the MLB. So a guy that has some professional experience. But I'm just going to jump into the quote that has gotten social media kind of in a frenzy. So he says, I'm going to sound like sour grapes, and I don't really use a different word, but I'll use crap. It's disheartening to see that the better team did not win. That's not to take anything away from the Dodgers, but the Blue Jays did so many things correct. They did so many things right. And I feel like they played baseball in a certain way that was infectious. I just wanted to add that last little part in as well, because we saw, how awesome it was to watch this team. But I'm just going to simply throw it over to you, Brayden. I got some stats to kind of, I guess, in a sense, back up this narrative by Caleb Joseph, but I'll throw it over to you, just your initial reactions.
Yeah, listen, to be honest with you, you could give me all the stats you want to give me. The Dodgers didn't even play their... we're going to talk about this too. The Dodgers, to me, didn't even play the best brand of Dodgers baseball that they could play. I think their offense can be a lot better than that. I'm going to flat out say it here. You win the World Series, you're the best team in the league. As much as Blue Jays fans don't want to hear that, I think this was an absolutely magical run, but you didn't come out on top, so you're not the best team. And I can't sit here and defend that. I can't. I love this team, and I did love this 2025 Blue Jays team, but they didn't win. And as much as that absolutely kills me to say inside, I don't think we can just be throwing out quotes willy-nilly here. I think that makes you look, even though we are biased, a lot of bias going on. So I understand what Caleb was saying. From people that cover this team on a daily basis and seeing how awesome it is and seeing how electric it was and the whole, all of Canada and other places around the world that came together to cheer for this club, it was infectious. It was awesome. They were the team that was probably the easiest to cheer for, unless you are some other fan bases who hate them or, have any past history with George Springer. I understand that. But they weren't the better team, Carter. They didn't win. And as much as I believe that most of the statistics in that final series, the Blue Jays statistics may look better on paper offensively. But who cares at the end of the day? They didn't win it. The Dodgers did. So throw any statistic you want at me. And Dodgers fans, why would they care? They won. We are sitting here. I stared at my wall blankly for 2 hours. Bit of a difference.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a big cope because I completely agree. Like the better team is going to win the World Series, and the better team, I guess, did win the World Series. As much as it pains me to say that, again, I'm not going to let bias overrun what we did watch in that series, but I do kind of understand why Caleb Joseph said that. Again, the bias obviously overtook him a little bit here, but there were certain components of this series that you could say the Toronto Blue Jays were definitely the better team in. Like I have a few stats to kind of back up what the Toronto Blue Jays did over that series. Just in batting average, the Blue Jays hit 264. The Dodgers team average was 203. The Blue Jays scored more runs than the Dodgers. The Jays scored 34. The Dodgers scored 26. Team OPS, the Blue Jays was at 745. The Dodgers was at 680 or 658. And one thing you saw a lot of was the Dodgers starting pitching staff was significantly better than the Toronto Blue Jays. But in that World Series, the Blue Jays team ERA was 3.21. The Dodgers team ERA was 3.95. Now we can go into some runners in scoring position stuff. I won't go game by game. I added this up all in totality, so I don't have to go, through the 7 games of this World Series. But the Blue Jays went 15 for 65 with runners in scoring position. That's a 231 average. They left 66 runners on base throughout this entire series. Look at the Los Angeles Dodgers. They had 55 runners left on base, and they went 9 for 47 with runners in scoring position. So that is a 191 runners in scoring position average. So, I mean, there's just from those two numbers, I'll start kind of backwards, working back up to the other things here. We're looking at teams with runners left on base, or the amount of players that the Blue Jays left on base, 66 to 55. So clearly the Blue Jays had more traffic on the base paths. They were getting on base at a better clip than the Los Angeles Dodgers were. But is that the stat that wins a World Series? Is that what we're going to draw on? Like, oh, the Blue Jays had a better offense. The Blue Jays maybe pitch better. That's a little bit more of an argument. But the Blue Jays, yeah, they were better with runners in scoring position, so they deserve the World Series. No, it's the final score that determines the game. It's the final score that determines the winner. So as much as I would love to say, oh, the Blue Jays were the better team and they deserved it, I can't say that. However, I do want to take a step back, and so we've seen a lot of comments and a lot of Dodgers fans, you brought it up, saying that if the Dodgers played to their potential, they win in 4 or 5 games. Yes, you could say Mookie Betts could have been better. Maybe Shohei Ohtani could have hit more home runs. But that narrative takes away so much from the Toronto Blue Jays. And that just feels like, oh, the Blue Jays got lucky and the Dodgers just didn't have their stuff. And that's why that went to 7 games. So many Dodgers fans are not giving the Toronto Blue Jays their accolades. They're not giving them their flowers. Like the Toronto Blue Jays had a better offense than the Dodgers the entire season. You can look at it on paper. Yes, maybe theoretically the Dodgers should have a better offense. This Blue Jays offense 1 through 9 was dominant, an unbelievable effort. I don't care. Again, they like the starting pitching on the Dodgers. Like maybe Snell could have had a better game 1, but Yamamoto, phenomenal. Shohei Ohtani was pretty good in that game number 4 as well. Tyler Glasnow, maybe you want more from him, but what more do you expect from your starting pitching staff? I don't think it's this narrative that, oh, they didn't perform up to expectation. Maybe you could use a little bit more with the offense. But again, Freddie Freeman was good. Will Smith was good. Maybe you want more home run power from Teoscar Hernandez. But I think when you use that narrative that the Dodgers didn't play up to their potential, I think you're just taking away from what the Toronto Blue Jays pitching staff did, the game plan they had against the Dodgers hitters. I think the Toronto Blue Jays and the Dodgers are both very good teams. But at the end of the day, if you're talking about the better team, definitely has to be the Dodgers, but it's not like there's this massive gap between these two teams. This was the best World Series we've seen in a very long time, debatably ever, for a reason. So while the Dodgers were the better team, the Toronto Blue Jays weren't that much farther behind them.
Carter, I'm going to say this, right? Yes, the Dodgers were a better team, and I'll say that, hand to God, but they won the World Series. So that's the only stat I need to look at.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, though, right, when we talk about playing up to your potential, okay, sure. But yeah, Mookie Betts could have definitely had a better series. Daulton Varsho could have definitely had a better series.
It's baseball.
It's hey, who's hot at the right time? Who's not? That's the game. So, yeah, I don't buy into that. I don't think that this would be a sweep if the Dodgers played to their potential. Don't get me wrong. If Mookie Betts plays better, yeah, we can have that. But then, what if Daulton Varsho was able to get a few more hits and drive in a couple? Like, I don't know. Yes, they won. I will not take anything away from that, but I'm not on the fence of this would have been a sweep or whatever. I think this was a great heavyweight tilt. That's one of the better World Series in the last 30 years. So as much as I'm sitting here pissed off, I'm also like, man, like looking back on this in 10 years, me sitting here as a Blue Jays fan, I'm going to remember, holy that was just insane baseball. I talked to a bunch of people that aren't Blue Jays fans, aren't Dodgers fans, really didn't have a horse in the race, and they were like, you know what, I was captivated by this World Series. That's how great these games were. You get 18 innings, you get extras in Game 7. They were saying it was fun to watch. And so, when I look back at this when I'm, old and gray, I'll be hurt still. I don't think this is ever going to not feel like garbage. But at the end of the day, this was fun to watch, Carter. Like, we watched this with a bunch of buddies, in our living room. And we were on the edge of our seat. We were like not breathing for moments because it was that electric. So, yes, it absolutely sucks. It feels like garbage. But, man, what a series. And I don't want to skip over that when we talk about all this. But I did want to throw it out there because I hear so many baseball fans, or maybe not baseball fans, people that watch the game, been like, oh, the Blue Jays are better. I don't care. I don't care. They didn't win. That's it.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate, obviously, but you made a very good point, too, of saying that if you're going to draw back on like, oh, the Dodgers didn't play up to their potential. Well, Jeff Hoffman didn't pitch up to his potential in the 9th inning. Shane Bieber didn't pitch up to his potential in the 11th inning. Alejandro Kirk, Daulton Varsho did not hit up to their potential throughout the entire game. So if you're going to draw on these little setbacks, and you're going to say the Dodgers didn't play up to their potential, you could easily say the exact same thing for the Toronto Blue Jays. And this game, like this series, went to 7 games. Like the Blue Jays were 2 outs away from this being a completely separate narrative, and then the Dodgers being like, "Oh, well, we didn't accomplish our goal," yada yada yada. So the fact that again, all of a sudden, like that narrative is coming out, it just the fact that Dodgers fans, not all of you guys, I'm not going to say that. It's not.
No, we've had some really great comments from some of you, and you know what? Yeah, so there was a lot of great Dodgers fans in our comment section, and you know what? Shout out them. I don't think this has to come out as a big hate thing either way, right? And there are Blue Jays. We're going to get into all this because we're going to talk about a little bit the fan bases next.
Every fan base has a bad bunch of apples. Unfortunately, no matter which way you look at it, if your team's like supposed to be good or it just is a good baseball team, like you can look at the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Astros. I mean, that's a different kind of situation going on there. But the Mariners, like whoever you want to look at. Unfortunately, just how it is, every fan base is going to have some people that honestly you just don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah. And I think, you know what, Carter? Let's talk about that next. We'll take a quick break. I do want to get everybody into some of the big off-season dates that we're going to hit upon sort of throughout this off-season and heading into next year. I just want to throw this out there. I know there are some of you that don't watch our podcast regularly. Those of you that do, we appreciate that a ton. Please go donate to our Movember page. It'll be down in the link in the description below. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Listen, we don't come on here into the live streams ever asking you guys for money. We are not those type of people. We don't want to be those type of people. This is for a good cause, right? And we do want to try to do our part in helping out. When you have a little bit of an audience like we do, you should be doing something. So for us, this is something that we've wanted to do the past few years and have done last year. So we appreciate it if you guys can do any of that. And if you can't, that's understandable too. We're not here. We're not telling you have to, nothing like that. If you got $5 to spare, maybe go donate it. It's to a great cause.
And even if you don't have money, try to do a challenge. Like one thing that I did last year, I think I'm trying to convince Brayden to do it. I'm not sure if I'm going to be successful, but 60 kilometers, whether you walk or run for the 60 men per hour that commit suicide. There's little things like that. Maybe a social media post.
I don't run
financially necessarily. It doesn't have to be running necessarily, but just any sort of way that you can just, get the cause out there, get some eyes like on what men's mental health is. Again, it's never talked about enough. So again, very important to us. So we just wanted to, reach out and try to make a difference with what we've been gifted with.
Yeah, exactly. Again, we'll come back. We'll talk fan bases. We'll talk off-season dates. A whole lot more to come in this episode. Stay tuned when we come back. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. I talk about Game Time all the time because that's the only place I buy my tickets. It's that simple. NFL season's back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being at the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, prices, jumping at the checkout. It's so frustrating. I just had a conversation with my cousin the other day, and he asked me, hey, what's that code for the site that you use? My Game Time. It's by far the best. Don't go anywhere else, because they were buying tickets to a Winnipeg Jets game. And he was like, the prices were insane. And I'm like, dude, just check Game Time. And sure enough, I think he got the tickets for like $40 cheaper than anywhere else. It was awesome. So I really suggest using it. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, backed with a Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON MLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, Carter. Time to talk about fan bases because there are very few things that I get like really upset about. And I'm going to start it off by talking about the Blue Jays fan base because I am a little bit disappointed in how some of these fans carry themselves. And it's not just, and honestly, there's a lot of fans that watch this team all the time that have some of these takes. And there are some people that, hey, they come on for the playoffs the last little bit of the year and they have these takes. IKF. Listen, we talked about the lead and, should have you let off a little bit more? Should have you not? Whatever, blah, blah. We talked about all that yesterday. No need to go back to it.
Yeah, he had a quote on it too, but that's not even relevant to what we're talking about here.
No, I don't care. There was receiving death threats again, Carter. Like, why are athletes receiving death threats for how they play the game? From their own fan base. Completely unacceptable. I don't got a ton to say on this one specifically. It's just unacceptable at this point. We have had to have this conversation 3, 4, 5 times. If you are sending death threats to players, don't come to this podcast. We don't want you here. Just ridiculous at this point.
And again, I get it hurts, but there's no justification for going to somebody's DMs, threatening their personal life, for threatening their family. Again, this isn't the first time that Toronto Blue Jays fans, unfortunately, have done this, and it probably won't be the last, and they're not the only fan base out there doing it. I mean, just look at what happened in our live stream when the Dodgers beat us. Like, the amount of comments that we got that weren't the nicest. Same idea, Mariners fans, Yankees fans. You can go to the other side. You go to the Phillies, the Padres. Again, it's not just the Toronto Blue Jays. Every bunch of fans does have a bad bunch of apples. That's not excusing it. That's not, making a justification for it. This has no spot in any sort of sports league. There's no spot in anywhere, in any sort of life, anywhere. Like, there's no reason why you should be threatening everyone's life or anyone's life, especially because of a baseball game, no matter how bad that did hurt, that they did lose game number 7.
Yeah, and Carter, there's a difference between sort of friendly, not friendly chirping. Like, we get that, right? We saw some of the comments from the Dodgers fans and, hey, we'll take those on the chin. It hurts a little bit.
It's part of the sports fandom, right? But as soon as you're like, go die in a hole or something like that, sometimes it can get a little too far. We're not going to be the guys that get affected by that. So again, like, if you think you got in our heads, we didn't. Maybe enough to put it out on the podcast. But again, it's part of the sports fan, and we expect the razzing. We probably would have been doing a little bit if the Blue Jays won as well. It's a part of the fun. So if it's within reason, not a problem with it. But as soon as you're going, again, outside of the game of baseball and you're going on social media threatening people and their livelihoods, you can't do that.
Yeah, man. And I wanted to go back to a couple things that we talked about in regards to fan bases. So we had a lot of Dodgers fans coming into like our TikToks and Instagram reels and here on the podcast and the live stream that some of you saw. That was like, oh, I guess you guys shouldn't have been chanting. You don't need Ohtani. We came on literally right after that episode saying that was probably a mistake. I don't know why the fans were doing that. This is the best player to ever play baseball. And yeah, Dodgers fans are going to use that as like motivation or whatever to chirp. We were not those guys, and there was a few different situations like that as well this season that have come along. Usually we'll if we're chirping or anything, we'll take it, but that was not us. I do not want to be put in the category that said we did not want Ohtani or we didn't need Ohtani, because it would be always nice to have a superstar.
Absolutely. But like, realistically, again, I'm not going to take anything away from him. Other than game 3, I get he's getting intentionally walked all the time. There's definitely significance of having more runners on base. But other than game 3, like, not like, Ohtani wasn't this like unbelievable player that was just unstoppable. Again, game 3 was ridiculous. And you go back to the Brewers series, like, he's had moments in the playoffs where he has the potential to do that. And that's why you are walking him. That's why you do have the respect. But yeah, as soon as you start chirping other people's fan bases before things are over, like we go back to the Alek Manoah, pressure is something you put in your tires. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., my house. How did that end up going? So every single time you seem to talk a little bit early, especially as a Toronto fan base, like not even just the Blue Jays. A lot of you guys are Maple Leafs fans as well. Luckily, we are not Maple Leafs fans, but with all the heartbreak you go through there, you'd think they might learn a little bit as Blue Jays fans. Say, hey, let's maybe not talk and, not chirp too much, especially against the Los Angeles Dodgers and how good of a team that they have over there. I mean, just looking at the Mariners series, like they thought they had us when they were up 2-0. They thought they had us when they were up 3-2. And look what happens. So again, it's the same hockey saying that I've, for some reason, been belting on this podcast a little bit, that it ain't over till the fat lady sings. And unfortunately, some of this fan base did get a little bit bit in the butt because of that. It's on the theme of narratives, which we have been pretty much this whole episode, pretty much since the World Series. We've had some people say, just move on. Why are you still talking about this? Like, move on. Like, the offseason is already coming up. I got one I'll read off here. I won't name the person who put the comment out here, but I will read it off. Yes, now move on. It's over. Life goes on. Hope it's not one day off and they'll be back. If you are able to put this World Series loss out of your mind within 2 days of it happening, I kind of question your Toronto Blue Jays fandom a little bit. For 180 games being so in on this team, watching this team interact. Again, we know how much they love each other. Like the conversations in the dugout when Davis Schneider and Aston Barger wrestling. You have the Chris Bassitt, Miles Straw, Jeff Hoffman going snorkeling on their off days. Like, these guys absolutely love each other, and we were there for all of it. Like, as Blue Jays fans, we watched 162. We watched 18 games in the playoffs. We saw the interviews with Hazel May after the game. We saw the Gatorade showers. We saw it all, and that's why this is so much harder. Like, for one, just the way they lost, obviously, very heartbreaking, but just how close this team was and how connected that everyone felt this fan base, and how much that we could just see their radiating love for all of them in that clubhouse. Again, for me, one of the worst sports moments of my life. And I'm not going to hopefully be talking about this as in depth and as often, a month down the road. But for it only happening 2 days later or 2 days before this, again, it's going to ruin my week. And that's just where I'm at.
Yeah, Carter. I don't know. Like, to me, that's just a little insane. Like, we went out. So we went out to get a couple drinks, me and you, after the whole fact, right? We were like, hey, You know what? We did the live stream. We appreciated everybody tuning into that. But then we were like, you know what? We just need to go grab a couple beers. We did that. I came home and I told the story, but we had a speaker in our basement and I was just sitting there watching the post game, everything, and just wallowing. And Sunday didn't feel a whole lot better. Monday, I go into work for the first time after that, and I'm hearing about it a little bit. So it doesn't take a day to get over. And Carter, I still think about the Vancouver Canucks loss in the finals. So I'm going to probably think about this for even longer. I'll probably be on my deathbed at some point, and I won't remember anybody's face or anybody, but I'll remember a Blue Jays World Series loss. So yeah, I'm not going to get over it. We will eventually not come back on here and talk about it. We will start to look ahead into the postseason and everything like that. Actually, we're going to start that right away in the next segment when we talk about postseason dates, Carter.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, there's a lot of time in the offseason that we can talk about next season, but for how special this team was, again, first time making the World Series in 32 years, you have no idea what's going to happen next year. Again, you got to hope that this team is going to be good again. They're all here once again, but look at the difference between 2024 and 2025. Nothing is promised, and that's why these guys celebrate every single time they make the playoffs. They celebrate every single series win in the playoffs because every single day is earned. Every single day is not given to you. So the fact that, again, like, if you are able to move on, I guess, like, congrats. Like, I kind of wish I was in your boat because I think I would be a lot more emotionally stable right now. But hey, I mean, that's just not where I'm going to be at, unfortunately.
Yeah, no. Again, it blows my mind that some people are able to do that. But hey, if you're the person that can just put it out of your head, good on you. Carter, my man, I do want to get into a lot of sort of some of the details on what's coming up throughout this offseason because it is massive. Every decision that's made leads up to the next one for going into the 2026 season, which will most likely be the last season before a lockout. We can almost pretty much guarantee that there will be a lockout in 2027. So this is going to be a big year that decides a lot of stuff moving forward. So we'll come back out of this break. We'll talk. I'll give you guys a quick rundown on all the dates, the important dates that you can sort of mentally prepare in your head for what's going to come this offseason.
Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this sports season, whether you're following the NFL, NBA, NHL, or all of it. There's no better time to jump into the action. If you haven't tried it yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more than or less than on 2 player stat projections, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you could play anywhere that Prize Picks operates. So unfortunately for me, I have been a heavy baseball guy. I've been hammering more than on a lot of my Prize Picks selections, But unfortunately, we have no more baseball, and there's NFL is unfortunately not available either. So I'm going to have to be taking my talents over to the NHL. I'm a Canucks fan. They did play last night, so I'm going to have to, again, expand my horizons even more. I'll maybe probably take some flyers on some of the fantasy players that I do have more than goals, more than assists. I usually do ride the point totals. So hopefully I can kind of get back into my bag like I was with the MLB season. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. It's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right.
So, Carter, as we continue on here, I'll run down a quick couple massive dates coming up in this offseason. We'll start here. November 6th is a big day to mark on your calendar. We're 2 days away from that. Contract option decisions have to be made. They got the deadline to make qualifying offers. Free agency begins officially. And then the November 6th and 7th Silver Slugger awards will be announced. November 10th to the 13th, another couple. Just if you're into the award nomination stuff, that's awards week. So all of those will get released. And one that's going to be massive, especially as we look ahead, as we have to 2027, because that's, again, lockout date. The GM meetings will happen in Las Vegas. So that's going to be massive, we'll probably start to see little droppings of what's going to happen moving forward. November 18th, Carter, is the qualifying offer decisions. November 18th as well is the deadline to file the reserve list. And November 18th to 20th is the owner meetings as well. So another big date, a couple dates there. So those are just a few coming in November, Carter. I guess some of the big ones that stand out to you as I hate that we have to sit here and talk about lockout already. But everybody was saying, will the Dodgers ruin baseball and make us miss a season of baseball? Well, I don't think it's just on them. I think this is a bigger baseball issue, and there's stuff that are going to have to be talked about. But to see these dates already on the calendar where you're already starting to have to process that we might miss a season of baseball is sort of wild.
Yeah, it's tough. It's been something that I've been trying to avoid at least a little bit because we're promised at least one more season. And that's something that, again, you can get excited for. At least there's one more year that there's going to be baseball. But with all the controversial topics going on within the league right now, with all the salary cap, with the salary floor stuff, the deferred money, are the Dodgers ruining baseball? Is this an owner spending problem or is it an MLB league problem? Again, there's so much to talk about. We've talked about this a little bit. We'll continue to talk about it, obviously, during this offseason, during the next offseason. Again, hopefully, somehow between now and then, we do have a little bit more progress. Somehow, they do a 180 and it looks like we're going to have baseball. That's not how it's looking right now. But luckily, there is a lot of time between then and the lockout. So a lot more things that we're going to be talking about. Again, we're going to be focused on the Bichette of it all, who they're going to target in free agency. But throughout this week, we're still going to reflect a little bit. We are still going to think about the 2025 Toronto Blue Jays because this was a special team, easily my favorite team to watch of my lifetime. I was born in 2002, just for reference. So again, I didn't get the 92, 93 years, if you guys were wondering about that. But yeah, we're excited to keep it going. We're excited to keep this train rolling, even though I didn't feel worse today. That's where I'll say it. I didn't feel worse about what happened from the World Series. I could not watch any of the Dodgers parade, the Kike Hernandez stuff. Being online, you're going to hear some of that. That one hurt a little bit, but I don't think it got any worse today, at least for me.
Yeah, I agree. I felt just as bad as I did on the weekend. So there you go.
Yeah, and that was pretty low. So, I mean, we're not doing much better, but at least it didn't get any worse, right?
Carter, just a couple more here. I'll just go over some of the big ones. November 21st is the non-tender deadline. December 7th to 10th is the winter meetings. So those are another couple big dates. And December 9th is the 2026 draft lottery as well. So there you'll get to see a bunch of stuff. So maybe we'll go over the odds one day, but it doesn't really affect Blue Jays fans. So I don't really.
For me, the biggest one was just the player options, like who decided to opt in, who decided to opt out, which unfortunately already happened. So looking forward, there's no specific date where I'm like, oh, this is going to matter a ton for the Toronto Blue Jays necessarily. The only one is Shane Bieber. Is he going to opt into his player option? Again, the Toronto Blue Jays have declared 6 free agents already. He's the only one that is undecided. So that's really the only thing. And other than that, it's just going to be what happens with Bichette, which we'll continue to cover throughout this entire offseason.
Yeah, it's going to be a massive one again. It seems like every year it is with this Toronto Blue Jays team. They're a team that's willing to spend money, and I don't want that to be lost on anybody. This team does spend, and so hopefully they go out now with all the money they've made from this postseason and
a lot of money coming off the books too.
That's right, a lot of money coming out. Yeah, you're 100% right. So some big stuff we're going to have to talk about over the next week and months and months and months. So Thank you guys as always for watching. You guys have been absolutely killing it. I mean, the amount of views and followers or subscribers or whatever it's called that we've gotten, the likes, and especially more than anything, the comment section has been blowing up, and we absolutely love it. There's been so many of you guys, and we have personally seen them all. Carter, I know some of them you screenshot and send me if it's a nice one or if it's a really mean one. Sometimes you send them to me just to, I think, put a dagger in me a little bit too.
Well, you got to keep your toes, right?
Yeah, you got to keep me humbled, right?
100%.
So again, if you have any any money that you could possibly spare, please do donate to the Movember cause, even if it's not ours. It doesn't affect us one way or another. It all goes to the same place. So we hope that you guys can get out there and do that, or just make a page for yourself and try to convince other people to donate that they could as well. We'll sort of give you guys reminders throughout the month to do that. But we appreciate everything, and it's been a heck of a season. Like I said, sort of last episode, but we couldn't be more thankful for everybody that stuck around with us throughout this entire year, Carter.
No, absolutely. And we're just hoping to continue to grow, hoping to continue to get more perspectives, whether they are good or bad for the Toronto Blue Jays, whether they're good comments, hate comments. Again, we'll take them all. We prefer the nice ones. But again, it's just part of the gig. It's part of the sports fandom. There's going to be people that agree with you, and there's going to be people that disagree with you, especially when you have a podcast where you're talking about the Blue Jays every single day. Thank you guys for watching, and we will be back with you guys once again tomorrow.